The official Chandrayaan-3 mission ended successfully. At least, that's what every public report says. But months after the mission was declared complete, investigators recovered a damaged backup transmission from an abandoned mirror server. The file does not exist in any official archive. It has no explanation, no documentation, and no record of who created it. 23 minutes before the signal was lost. The rover stopped exploring the moon and pointed its cameras towards something hidden inside one of the darkest craters ever studied. This is the recovered transmission known only as CH3LOST. For decades, every major lunar mission has left behind more than rocks, photographs, and engineering reports. Hidden inside government archives are thousands of hours of forgotten telemetry, damaged transmissions, corrupted recordings, and unfinished technical logs that were never intended for public release. Most of them are exactly what you would expect: battery readings, navigation data, thermal measurements, routine diagnostics. Nothing mysterious. Nothing unusual. In late 2025, a small group of independent digital archivists began restoring damaged mission backups obtained from several publicly released scientific databases. Their goal was simple: preserve aging space mission data before magnetic storage degraded beyond recovery. Most recovered files were incomplete. Some contained only fragments of telemetry. Others lasted only a few seconds before ending in digital corruption. Then one archive appeared that didn't match anything in the official Chandrayaan-3 mission database. Its file name was strangely simple: .3LOST. No mission category. No creation date. No operator identification. Only 16 gigabytes of heavily damaged transmission data. The file could not be opened using ordinary software. Its internal timestamps conflicted with each other. Entire sections appeared encrypted despite no official documentation mentioning any encrypted scientific recordings from the mission. Engineers assumed the archive was nothing more than corrupted backup data accidentally copied during routine server maintenance. One technician almost deleted it. Instead, he isolated the damaged sectors and attempted a low-level recovery. The process lasted nearly 14 hours. When the reconstruction finally completed, only 28 minutes of usable recording remained. There was no introduction. No mission logo. No telemetry overlay, only a black screen. For nearly 12 seconds, nothing happened. Then, a faint electrical hum emerged beneath the digital noise. Not music, not static. Something mechanical. A slow, repeating vibration. Almost like a distant machine operating somewhere far below the surface. The image suddenly appeared: gray dust, sharp shadows. The uneven landscape of the moon. Whoever had assembled the recovered archive had synchronized several onboard cameras into a single continuous recording. Every frame carried visible compression damage. Horizontal glitches rolled across the image. Entire sections flickered between clarity and distortion. The transmission looked unstable, as though it had never been meant to survive. A line of text faded into view. Source: Chandrayaan-3 surface operations. Nothing else. The recording continued. The rover moved slowly across the lunar surface. Its cameras scanned rocks, shallow craters, and long fields of fine dust. Everything appeared perfectly ordinary, until the thermal data overlay activated. A second image appeared beside the normal camera feed. The grayscale surface transformed into deep blues and dark violet colors representing extreme cold. The moon looked exactly as scientists expected. Almost every object shared nearly identical temperatures. The landscape was silent, motionless, frozen. Then a single pixel changed color. Near the edge of a permanently shadowed depression, one tiny point shifted from dark blue to bright orange. The software automatically highlighted the anomaly. At first, engineers believed the sensor had produced a false reading. Cosmic radiation frequently created isolated hot pixels inside imaging equipment. The onboard computer ignored the anomaly. The rover continued driving. 7 seconds later, the same point appeared again. Not in the same frame. Not in the same frame. Not in the same location. It had moved only slightly, barely noticeable, but enough for the tracking software to register motion. The onboard system attempted automatic classification. Rock. Rejected. Reflection. Rejected. Solar interference. Rejected. Unknown thermal source. No alarm sounded. The rover continued its programmed route. The recording ended abruptly. The recovered file skipped forward almost 3 minutes. The image returned. The rover had stopped moving. Its cameras remained fixed on the same shadowed crater. Nothing appeared unusual in the visible spectrum. The thermal image told a different story. The orange point had become larger, not brighter. Larger. As though whatever had produced the heat was slowly approaching the edge of the darkness. No explanation accompanied the recording. No mission notes. No engineering comments. Only raw footage. Exactly 43 seconds later, every temperature sensor aboard the rover recalibrated simultaneously, not because they detected failure, because every sensor measured the same unexpected increase. Something inside that crater was getting warmer. The official Chandrayaan-3 mission timeline contains no mention of this event. No published scientific paper references these readings. No engineering report describes an unexplained thermal anomaly during surface operations. Yet the recovered archive clearly recorded it. The first question investigators asked was obvious. Was the file authentic? The second question was far more disturbing. If it was, why had no one ever spoken about CH3 lost? The first assumption was the simplest one. The recovered transmission had been corrupted. Space missions generate enormous amounts of scientific data, and damaged files are not uncommon. A single corrupted memory sector can produce false images, incorrect temperatures, or completely random sensor readings. That explanation satisfied everyone for less than a day. The engineering team separated the thermal data from the video stream and reconstructed every missing frame individually. The process took more than 18 hours. When the final report was completed, the results surprised everyone involved. The thermal readings had not been corrupted. Every checksum matched the original sensor output. Every timestamp remained perfectly synchronized with the rover's navigation system. Nothing suggested that the anomaly had been created during the recovery process. Attention shifted toward the rover itself. Perhaps one of its thermal sensors had failed after landing. Mission engineers reviewed every diagnostic report transmitted before and after the recording. Battery voltage remained stable. Internal temperatures stayed within operational limits. Communication systems functioned normally. The thermal camera passed every automatic calibration test performed throughout the mission. No hardware failure was detected. The investigation continued. Scientists overlaid the thermal data onto the rover's navigation map. The unexplained heat source appeared inside the outer edge of Shackleton Crater, one of the coldest known locations on the moon. Sunlight has never reached parts of this crater. Some regions have remained in permanent darkness for billions of years. Temperatures there are expected to remain unimaginably low. That was exactly why the reading made no sense. The surrounding terrain measured temperatures consistent with permanent shadow. Only one small area behaved differently. It was warmer, not by a fraction of a degree. Warm enough for every onboard sensor to register it as a distinct thermal object. The software attempted automatic classification several times. Each attempt ended with the same result: unknown thermal source. The rover slowly continued along its planned route while keeping the crater inside its field of view. Every 30 seconds, the thermal camera captured another image. The object remained in the same location. Its temperature remained stable. Its shape did not. Frame by frame, investigators noticed subtle changes. The heat pattern became slightly narrower, then wider, then taller. The differences were almost impossible to notice during normal playback. Only after comparing dozens of consecutive frames did the pattern become obvious. The object was changing, not randomly, systematically. The engineering team calculated every possible explanation. Solar reflection. Rejected. Cosmic radiation. Rejected. Sensor bloom. Rejected. Compression artifacts. Rejected. Every ordinary explanation disappeared one by one. The investigation reached an uncomfortable conclusion. The thermal camera was recording a genuine heat source. No one could explain why it existed. The official mission database contained no reference to the anomaly. No scientific publication mentioned unusual thermal activity inside Shackleton Crater. Even stranger, the recovered archive contained one additional folder that had not yet been examined. It contained no images, no video. Only a short audio recording captured at exactly the same moment the thermal anomaly first appeared. No one expected the audio file to contain anything unusual. The moon has no atmosphere. There should have been nothing to hear. Yet someone had decided to record it anyway. The recovered folder contained only one additional item. Its file name was even shorter than the video archive. -3 audio. The file lasted exactly 4 minutes and 12 seconds. No documentation explained why it had been created. The rover carried no microphone designed to record sound from the lunar surface. There was no atmosphere. Nothing could travel through the vacuum as ordinary sound. At first, investigators assumed the file had been mislabeled. Perhaps it contained diagnostic information from one of the onboard computers. Instead, the waveform revealed something completely different. The recording consisted of raw vibration data collected by the rover's internal sensors. Every movement of the vehicle produced tiny mechanical vibrations. The motors, the suspension, the drill. Even the wheels crossing loose lunar soil generated measurable frequencies. Engineers occasionally converted these signals into audio to diagnose mechanical wear during testing. The recovered file had been processed the same way. For the first minute, everything sounded exactly as expected: a slow electric motor. Small clicks from the suspension. The constant vibration produced by the rover's instruments. Nothing unusual. Then the vehicle stopped moving. The motors became silent. The wheels no longer turned. The only remaining sound came from the rover itself, cooling fans, electronic circuits, power regulation systems. The recording should have become almost completely silent. Instead, another vibration slowly appeared beneath the background noise. It was extremely weak, almost impossible to notice without headphones. The engineers isolated the frequency and amplified it. The vibration repeated every 21 seconds, always with exactly the same interval. No natural mechanical failure behaves with perfect timing. The team searched every onboard system, battery pumps, navigation motors, thermal regulators. None of them operated at that frequency. One researcher proposed an unusual idea. Perhaps the rover had detected vibrations traveling through the lunar ground itself. The theory sounded impossible. The moon is not completely inactive, but moonquakes are extremely rare and produce irregular seismic patterns. This signal was different. It repeated with mathematical precision. Every 21 seconds. Exactly. The waveform was sent to specialists who had spent years studying seismic activity on the moon. Their conclusion eliminated the only remaining natural explanation. The frequency did not match any recorded moonquake. It did not resemble thermal expansion. It did not resemble rock movement. It did not resemble mechanical vibration. One sentence inside the analysis report immediately drew attention. The source appears artificial. No one was willing to write those words into the official mission documentation. The report was archived. Nothing more happened for several weeks. Then an engineer reviewing the thermal recording noticed something no one had compared before. He synchronized the audio file with the thermal footage. The repeating vibration began at the exact moment the unidentified heat source first appeared inside Shackleton Crater. Every pulse matched a slight increase in the object's recorded temperature. 21 seconds. Another pulse. The temperature rose again. 21 seconds. Another pulse. Again, the thermal signature became warmer. The pattern continued throughout the recording. It was as though something beneath the surface was producing energy in perfectly timed cycles. The rover never moved closer. Its navigation software ignored the anomaly completely. Yet one camera slowly rotated away from the planned survey path. No command authorizing the movement appeared anywhere inside the recovered mission log. Someone, or something, had redirected the camera. The final frames of the synchronized recording showed the thermal anomaly growing brighter for the first time since the mission began. Not because the surrounding ground became colder, because the source itself was becoming hotter. At exactly the same moment, the repeating vibration stopped. The audio fell completely silent for nearly 11 seconds. Then the transmission cut to black. The recovered archive skipped forward once again. The next file would become the most controversial recording ever associated with Chandrayaan-3. When investigators opened the final recovered folder, they immediately noticed something unusual. Unlike every previous recording, this file had never been processed by the rover's automatic mission software. There were no TMESTs, no telemetry, no navigation data. No engineering overlays. Only raw video. The file name contains 6 words: final camera feed. Mission documentation listed no camera under that designation. Chandrayaan-3 carried several navigation cameras, hazard avoidance cameras, and scientific imaging systems. None of them matched the recovered file. The recording began in complete darkness for nearly 8 seconds, Nothing could be seen. Then the exposure slowly adjusted. The rover was no longer facing the crater floor. It was looking directly into permanent darkness. No movement, no visible object. Only blackness. Mission logs confirmed that this direction had never been scheduled as part of the surface survey. The rover had rotated almost 90 degrees away from its planned route. No steering command existed. No remote operator had issued a manual override. According to every official record, that movement never happened. Investigators replayed the video several times. Frame by frame, the image remained unchanged. The crater appeared completely empty. Then one analyst increased the brightness. Nothing. Another increased the contrast. Still nothing. Finally, the original sensor data was extracted from the camera itself rather than the compressed video. A faint outline appeared deep inside the darkness. Not because something entered the frame, because something had been there from the beginning. Compression had simply hidden it. The object occupied only a small portion of the image. Its edges were almost perfectly straight. Natural rock formations rarely produce straight geometric lines. This formation contained several. The engineering team measured the visible angles, 90 degrees. Another 90 parallel edges. The structure resembled a vertical wall partially buried beneath lunar dust. No geological survey of Shackleton Crater had ever reported anything similar. The analysts compared the image with orbital photographs collected over several years. Nothing appeared unusual from orbit. Only the rover's low viewing angle revealed the strange geometry. One researcher suggested the formation might be part of a collapsed lava tube. Another proposed that unusual lighting conditions had created an optical illusion. Neither explanation survived detailed analysis. The visible edges remained identical across every processed version of the recording. As investigators continued examining the video, they discovered another detail. The camera was not completely stationary. Its lens made tiny adjustments every few seconds. Automatic focus corrections. Normally, the rover focused on nearby rocks. This time, every correction attempted to sharpen something located far inside the crater. The onboard software behaved as though it had detected an object, yet no object appeared inside the visible image. Then the camera suddenly locked focus. It never adjusted again. Exactly 3 seconds later, a small white marker appeared on the engineering display. It was generated automatically by the rover's object recognition software. Normally, the system placed those markers around rocks, slopes, or navigation hazards. This marker surrounded empty darkness. The software had identified something. The camera simply could not resolve it. Engineers recovered one final diagnostic message hidden inside the recording. Only 7 words appeared before the transmission failed. Target locked, classification unavailable. The message remained on screen for less than half a second. Immediately afterward, the signal quality began collapsing. Horizontal interference filled the image. Compression blocks spread across the frame. Telemetry disappeared one field after another. The rover was still transmitting. Something else was failing. And whatever happened next was never included in the official Chandrayaan-3 mission archive. The transmission continued for another 2 minutes. Every second became more unstable. Video corruption spread across the screen in irregular waves. Entire sections of the image disappeared before returning a fraction of a second later. The engineering team initially blamed the growing interference on the rover's communication system. Spacecraft operating near the lunar South Pole often experience brief interruptions caused by terrain blocking the direct line of sight to Earth. The telemetry told a different story. Signal strength remained stable, the antenna never lost alignment. Power consumption remained perfectly normal. Nothing suggested a communications failure, yet the image continued to deteriorate. Investigators isolated the corrupted frames and compared them one by one. A strange pattern immediately appeared. Every burst of interference occurred only when the camera remained focused on the unidentified structure inside the crater. Whenever compression briefly revealed ordinary lunar terrain, the transmission stabilized. As soon as the camera returned to the same location, digital artifacts flooded the screen again. One software engineer suggested that the onboard encoder had become overloaded by damaged sensor data. The theory sounded reasonable until another discovery changed everything. The rover's internal clock had stopped advancing. The video continued playing, the telemetry continued updating. The battery continued discharging, only the clock remained frozen. For exactly 48 seconds, no explanation could be found. Every onboard computer depended on that clock. Without it, dozens of automated systems should have failed immediately. Instead, the rover continued operating as though nothing had happened. The engineering logs recorded one automatic warning. Navigation paused, awaiting synchronization. No synchronization request had ever been transmitted from Earth. The rover had entered that state on its own. At the same moment, the thermal anomaly began changing again. Its temperature increased faster than at any previous point during the mission. The software automatically expanded the highlighted area. The object appeared larger, not because the camera had zoomed in, because the heat source itself occupied more of the frame. Engineers carefully measured every visible change. The increase remained perfectly consistent. The object was approaching the rover. No wheel movement had been detected. The rover had not driven forward. Whatever produced the thermal signature was closing the distance instead. The visible camera still showed nothing except darkness. Only the thermal data continued changing. Then a second warning appeared. Unlike previous system messages, this one had never been documented anywhere inside the Chandrayaan-3 operating manual. Unknown object inside observation zone. The engineering team searched every software revision released before launch. No version of the rover's operating system contained that message. The sentence should not have existed. Investigators assumed the recovered file had been altered during restoration. They verified the original binary data 3 separate times. The message remained identical. No evidence of modification could be found. The transmission continued for another 21 seconds. Then every system aboard the rover reported the same value. Camera, thermal sensor, navigation computer. Power management. Each subsystem displayed a single status, recording. Nothing else. No temperatures. No position. No battery information. Only that one word. The video froze. One final frame remained visible before the transmission disappeared forever. At first glance, it looked completely black. Only after increasing the exposure more than 300% did analysts notice something that had never appeared in any previous image. Two small reflections, perfectly symmetrical, looking directly toward the rover. The signal ended less than 1 second later. No further transmissions were ever recovered from the file known as CH3 Lost. The recovered transmission should have been the end of the investigation. Instead, it became the beginning of another one. Once the engineering team confirmed that the video had not been fabricated, they requested access to the original Chandrayaan-3 post-mission analysis. Every successful space mission generates thousands of pages of technical documentation after completion. Engineers review every anomaly, every warning, every unexpected sensor reading. Nothing is ignored. The Chandrayaan-3 archive contained hundreds of reports. One report was missing. Its identification number appeared in the official index. Its title remained visible. Its contents did not. The document had been removed. Only its file name survived. Every warning, every unexpected sensor reading. Nothing is ignored. The Chandrayaan-3 archive contained hundreds of reports. One report was missing. Its identification number appeared in the official index. Its title remained visible. Its contents did not. The document had been removed. Only its file name survived. Thermal observations summary, restricted revision. The investigation became more serious. Archivists searched mirror servers maintained by different research institutions. Several copies of the mission database still existed. Every version contained the same missing report. Someone had removed it before the archive had been distributed. Weeks later, one researcher discovered something unexpected. An automatic backup server located inside an old development network still contained fragments of deleted documents. Most of the files were unreadable. One recovered fragment contained only 3 paragraphs. The document never mentioned extraterrestrial life. It never mentioned structures. It never mentioned intelligent objects. Instead, it described a simple engineering concern. According to the report, the rover had detected a thermal source that could not be explained by known lunar geology. Mission specialists recommended continued observation before drawing conclusions. The report ended abruptly. Everything after that point had been permanently overwritten. Only one sentence survived. Further investigation is not recommended until additional orbital surveys become available. No explanation followed. No reason was given. The wording immediately raised questions. Space agencies rarely cancel scientific investigations simply because a discovery cannot yet be explained. Unexplained observations usually receive even more attention. This one had been abandoned. The engineering team reviewed orbital photographs collected years before the Chandrayaan-3 landing. Nothing unusual appeared. Then they compared images taken after the mission had ended. One small difference became impossible to ignore. A narrow section of the crater floor appeared darker than before. The change measured less than 15 meters across. Too small to attract attention during ordinary geological surveys. Large enough to appear in high-resolution orbital photography. The feature had not existed before the rover's final transmission. Researchers assumed it was the result of a minor landslide. Computer simulations failed to reproduce the shape. Natural rock collapse spread material outward in irregular patterns. This feature formed an almost perfect circle. The probability of such symmetry occurring naturally was extremely low. Still, no conclusion could be reached. Months later, another lunar orbiter passed over Shackleton Crater. Its cameras photographed the exact same location. The circular feature was gone. The surface looked exactly as it had before Chandrayaan-3 ever arrived. No collapse. No crater. No visible disturbance. As though nothing had happened. The official explanation described the earlier observation as an imaging artifact caused by changing solar angles. There was only one problem. The floor of Shackleton Crater never receives direct sunlight. The lighting conditions had not changed at all. Investigators closed the comparison without reaching a conclusion. The missing report remained missing. The recovered transmission remained unexplained. The thermal anomaly remained unidentified. And the final image from SH3LOST remained the only frame in which two perfectly symmetrical reflections appeared inside a crater where nothing should have been visible. No mission has ever attempted to reproduce that observation. At least, none that has been made public. The recovered transmission known as CH3LOST has never appeared in any official mission archive. Whether it was a corrupted engineering file, an undocumented scientific experiment, or evidence of something we still cannot explain remains unknown. One thing is certain. Whatever Chandrayaan 3 recorded inside Shackleton Crater was important enough to disappear from the official record. The moon has remained silent ever since.